Hosted by you/throwaway wife conspir. Okay, this sounds insane, but I swear my wife is totally normal otherwise, which makes this so strange to me. For context, we're both in our late 30s and live in a pretty typical suburban neighborhood where we all know each other. My wife has always loved trashy movies and shows about infidelity, and she eats up true crime about spouses unaliving their cheating partners too. She just says something about it makes her morbidly fascinated, in her words. Well, a couple of months back, we had a scandal in our neighborhood where a married couple divorced because the husband cheated. No, there wasn't a murder or anything like that, but she became obsessed with learning every detail from every neighbor. No matter the occasion, whether it was a baby shower or a cookout, she would bring it up, hoping there would be any new information. A month later is when I stumbled upon the board in her home office. I was doing some cleaning and found a massive bulletin board leaning against the wall, facing away. Curiosity got the better of me, and I turned it around to find a literal conspiracy board of all our neighbors' pictures, with lines of yarn connecting them like the freaking Pepe Sylvia meme. I was totally confused and asked her what this was. She told me it was a hobby she had started recently, where she would track rumors or likely candidates for cheating on the board. The yarn represented who was possibly cheating with whom. She had clearly gotten all the images from Facebook or some social media, printed them out, and even had a few sticky notes with details. I told her this was creepy and insane, and she said, maybe if I was doing it as a man, but I'm just having harmless fun as a hobby. She assured me she wouldn't be crazy and try to oust anyone based on rumors, she just likes feeling like a detective. She told me to view it like a creative art piece. I was still super weirded out but tried to let it go. I thought about it a lot. Well, every now and then, I admit to checking the board when cleaning, and just a couple of days ago, I looked and saw that now I was on the board, with yarn attached to a neighbor's wife I'm casually friends with. I asked her why she would add me if she thought I was cheating, and she said that was a different yarn color for potential matches for cheating. She said if it made me feel better, she was planning on adding herself to the board soon. Well, I got pissed and kind of lost my temper. I told her to get rid of the board or our marriage would be in trouble. Things have been super rocky since. Sorry for the long post, I'm starting to feel bad, and it hit me more than usual this morning. Should I apologize to her? And before you ask, no, I don't suspect her of cheating. Honestly, I wish she was because it would at least make more sense than this. Update 5 days later. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Firstly, I appreciate all of the concerns and comments. It gave me the courage to approach her and tell her that while I may have overreacted by threatening our marriage, I still think it's a creepy thing to do. She apologized and said she would get rid of the board. I thought we were good. Literally 2 days later. 2 days later, crap hits the fan. Our happily married next door neighbor finds a woman's bra under the bed that doesn't belong to her. It doesn't take long for the whole neighborhood to find out. Well, my wife is giddy, like jumping up and down with joy. She shows me the board, which she still hadn't trashed like she promised, and of course, the husband was marked with yarn, meaning he was likely to cheat. She told me the board was accurate after all, and maybe she should keep her hobby around. I was definitely suspicious, so I looked at the board again later. It looked different from the last time I saw it before the latest scandal. Instead of the yarn connecting to another neighbor, the cheating husband's yarn connected to a post-it with a question mark. Firstly, it was the only question mark there, and I swear it wasn't there last time I saw the board. So either she changed it after the cheating to prove a point, or slightly before it happened, which made me even more suspicious either way. Now I felt like I was the detective, and I was going crazy. I went over to the cheating husband's house to ask a few questions. His wife was staying at her parents', so it was just the two of us. I asked him if he actually cheated, and he said no, he would never. Then I asked if my wife had been over recently. He said that one day, while I was at work, his wife had asked her to water a plant while they were both away and told her where the key was, so yes. I immediately raised an eyebrow. I asked if he still had the bra, and he started getting nervous, telling me not to get the wrong idea. I said not to worry. He still had the bra, and when I looked at it, I recognized it as my wife's, a piece from a lingerie set I bought her one Christmas that she said was uncomfortable and rarely wore. I told my neighbor I needed to talk to my wife and ran out, but I assured him not to worry. I approached her with the bra and asked her what was going on. She played dumb, but I told her to cut the BS. I asked if she had either cheated on me with him or planted it there. Either way, she was in trouble. She confessed to planting the bra and said it was to make me admit her hobby was valid or something. I flipped out. I told her this was worse than cheating because instead of just ruining our marriage, she had ruined both our neighbors and ours. I demanded that she call the wife and admit everything, even sending pictures of the board. I even showed the Reddit post, which actually helped convince the wife that my wife had planted the bra rather than cheated with her husband. Thankfully, they made up, but now I have no idea what to do. I'm barely speaking to my wife, and it's only a matter of time before the entire neighborhood finds out. I seriously need advice. Commenter. So your wife's moral compass is so broken that she would destroy a family, a couple's happiness, possibly for the rest of their lives, just to prove a fake point about a creepy obsession? What if they were trying for children and then broke up? She could have caused the wife to age out of ever being able to become a mother if her marriage was destroyed during her last fertile years. That would personally destroy me. What if they had children, and the divorce caused the kids all sorts of emotional and developmental issues? What if the false allegations about the husband caused him so much distress that he ended his own life? There are so many horrific ripple effects to this weird prank, I don't even know what to call it. Your wife clearly wasn't going to come clean about what she did without being forced. How can she sleep at night after doing these things to people? The lack of compassion and empathy for those people is literally psychopath territory. What if she were making a most likely to speed board? Would she run over a child with a car and then frame someone else for it, too? This woman needs to be committed. I cannot fathom her giddiness at destroying an innocent family's life. What she did to them is unconscionable. Second update 2 months 1 week later. It's been months since the last update. Sorry, I've been busy. Long story short, my wife is in a mental health facility. After what had happened previously, I did not speak to my wife for a while. I tried to stay at work or out of the house as often as I could. Well, a few weeks passed, and time made it seem like less and less of a big deal. Finally, my wife offered to take me out to a very nice dinner to make things up to me. She told me everything was behind her, and while I was avoiding her, she had actually started online therapy to get help and realized now that what she did was wrong. I really believed her, and we had a great night. One thing led to another that night and, well, yeah, lol. It took about 2 days after that for her to get a pregnancy test, and she texted me the positive result. Yeah, I know some of you already think I'm an effing moron, but it had been a rough year, and this made me really happy. I started getting very excited. We started talking about turning my home office into a baby room, looking up ways to prepare, booking appointments, planning a shower, etc. A really fun but whirlwind week. Unfortunately, she told me the first ultrasound was scheduled at a time I had to be at work, and she would have to go alone. It really bummed me out, and I asked her to reschedule, but she said it was the only availability. Well, that next week she went, and I waited for an update or pictures or anything. Nothing. She came home and was super quiet, and I freaked out, super worried that the worst had happened. I told her I understood she was probably in a lot of pain about something, but she had to tell me. She finally admitted that no, it wasn't a miscarriage. But she was actually pregnant for longer than she thought, longer than the last time we did it. She actually got pregnant during the time I was avoiding her. Obviously, I was so mad and upset, and I couldn't understand why she would do this to me, but then I realized all the signs had been there for so long, and all the comments telling me she was probably cheating were right. But I tried to keep a clear head for at least a second because I really love my wife and I couldn't believe it. I asked her who it could have been, and she actually said she didn't know. She said she hadn't done it with anyone during the time I was avoiding her. She swore it and also didn't know what this meant. I thought about it and realized if she was really pregnant for that long, her tummy should be showing, and it wasn't. I decided to call the place and ask them to confirm what they said. My wife told me it would be a waste of time and she promised she heard them clearly, so I didn't do it that night. But I couldn't sleep without hearing it from the doctors myself. I called the clinic she told me she went to the day before in the morning and asked them to confirm the results. They told me something worse than I expected. She had no visit, she was never there. I didn't understand that at all. Before I talked to my wife again, I did what I should have done in the first place and reverse image searched the pregnancy test image. Yeah, it was on Google from a random years old Facebook post. I was, again, really mad at my wife and couldn't believe she would put me through all this. I confronted her about the picture and that I called the place and there was no appointment. I told her she had a pattern of lying and this was probably the end of our relationship. But she responded in a way I didn't expect. She burst into tears and went manic, which I did expect, but then she said that she really had cheated on me and really was pregnant and that I had made this up in my head because I couldn't face what she did to me. She said she felt like the devil and Hitler and started sobbing and literally screaming at the top of her lungs. She locked herself in the bathroom and told me she was going to unalive herself over what she did to me. I couldn't get the door open and freaked out. I called the cops, and they broke the door down. She was not hurt, but she was really out of it. They took her to get a mental evaluation, and she told them everything there. She even started mixing in stuff about the board and how she knew everyone around her was a cheater, so she had done the same because she was in an evil place. She promised them she was pregnant but didn't know who the father was. They tested her while in custody, and there was no pregnancy at all. They told me she was likely suffering from a form of schizophrenia and genuinely believed what she was saying, and likely always had to some extent, but it seemed to be getting worse. They said she had a symptom called self-accusation and needed help. Well, I got her into a facility last week, and she is safe. They are making a little progress. I do not think she believes she is pregnant anymore. I have visited a few times, but she is very withdrawn with me and says she feels too guilty to look me in the eye. I think there was definitely meddling at certain points, like planting evidence, but now I just feel terrible that I did not get her the help she needed when all the real signs were there. I hope her medication starts to help and she can be normal again. And yeah, the neighborhood gossip is having a field day with all this. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope this is my last update. Thanks for all the help.